This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome for another episode of Anahita TV. Believe it or not, this is our 11th episode. I'm so excited that I've kept this going. I've been dealing with some issues, but this is the only thing that's been consistent in my life, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. Thanks to Talk 4 Radio. You can definitely watch a bunch of really cool podcasts on Talk 4 Radio. And please subscribe and share with your friends. The reason I'm making these videos is because I'm always meeting very interesting people, and I'm, engaged in really amazing conversations. And I feel like those conversations need to be shared. The last time I was at an event, I was in the Malibu Business Network, and I met Eduardo, who's our next guest. He's an amazing human being. You guys have to just wait and see. He's a musician with a passion for peace and harmony worldwide. And for this reason, he started a foundation called A Call to Peace, www.acall2peace.org, which is a platform for artistic expression to exhibit and support other like-minded nonprofit organizations who want to give back to humanity and serve the human rights, civil rights, sustainability. They have a lot of different things they stand by: animal rights, social and racial rights, equity, racial equality, access to clean water, air, food. He knows all of these things that I just talked about. He's very familiar with all of those foundations, and he plays several instruments. One of the things they did was they provided, this organization provided sustenance and shelter and food and housing for those who needed. But they raise funds with their concerts. So without further ado, let's bring on our friend Eduardo.
Hello.
Hi, Eduardo.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm fine.
I did a little introduction about you, how you're a musician and you started A Call to Peace. And, you and I had a wonderful conversation when we met at an event in Malibu. And so I decided to invite you on, and so we could share all your gifts, or some of them. You have such a vast variety of knowledge and gifts. I don't know where to begin.
The first one.
A musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the A Call to Peace, the name it was given to the foundation because I believe that peace is the responsibility of each individual, and it's something that we are born with, and then we kind of lose track of it. But it is our responsibility to find it inside of us, and then, make that call to yourself, to myself, to remember, to feel it, and then start the day from that point,
That's wonderful.
Well,
and tell us about how you started in music.
Well, unconsciously, I can tell you, because I have memories, but at the time I didn't know I was starting. I was born in Uruguay, Montevideo is the capital city, and in a neighborhood called Encina, which is one of the neighborhoods that the Black population used to live at. And each neighborhood that had Black Afro-Uruguayans descendants, they would group in certain parts of the city, and they would call those things nations. And I was born half a block from one of those nations, and since a very young age, I was 2.5, 3. I got memories of 2.5 to 3 years old, and I would listen to these guys playing, parading on the street late at night in summer, and that would excite me. And I would just, being 3 years old, I would just go to my father's, the bed and wake him up, because this was around midnight.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and he would get out of bed and take me. So I'm very grateful for what he did for me in that sense. Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't know. I don't know, but he knew that I liked it. And he would take me to where they were playing, parading with the drums. They would just play the drums and march. I had some of these drums here, and
The sound is beautiful. I have done listen to African drum music, and it's
uh,
just really enticing, and your heart, gets engaged, your emotions get engaged.
there is something with the groove, because rhythm, as I understand, in Africa, rhythm is a language.
Uh,
So they communicate a lot of different simple, social events. They're groups for to playing funerals, some for weddings, different celebrations, and it's different than just go, touch, touch, touch. There is a
right.
whole meaning behind it. Yeah, a, a third dimension to it.
That's
So
amazing.
so I would listen to these guys drumming all around me, and I would get like, I would cry out of emotion, I guess. I would call it ecstasy now, but at the time I didn't know. And uh, and and that same feeling kept me going and finding other expressions, artistic expressions, music, coming from that same place. It
Yeah.
didn't have to be exclusive to that particular group of people, but that's where it started. I was about 2.5, 3 years old.
Wow. So what was your first? That's a wonderful story. My goodness, to be affected like that so
Yeah,
emotionally at
yeah.
such a young age. I can see why you're a musician. So tell us how many instruments you play, and what has the role of music in your life?
Well, music. I'll start by the instruments. I mainly play bass, but I studied with a Brazilian maestro that's no longer with us. He used to live in Pasadena. His name is Moacir Santos, and I was studying with him, and he wanted to do classical music together because he was studying the piano. So he got me a six-string bass, and I've been using six-string basses with frets, fretlesses. But also I have four strings basses and five, and then classical guitar mainly, and percussion, keyboards. I use a lot of keyboards to compose, you know, to arrange, and it's quite. I don't know. I just I get out of the way, and then the music takes me somewhere. Something happens.
That's
It's
amazing.
very pretty. Yeah.
That's amazing. You also play the keyboard, no?
Well, yeah.
And you write songs, you write music for.
I compose. Let me see if you
Yeah.
can see this. I don't know, but anyway, there is there are a few keywords here. I wish we
Oh,
could do a
wow.
little tour of the studio, but anyway. So
Lovely
anyway,
studio. You have
yeah,
how many? You have how many instruments? Many, I'm sure.
I think I have about 8 or 9 basses,
Oh,
and
wow.
I have one, two, three, 4 guitars, and then around me there are 6 keyboards, and
Wow.
then there is another one that my friend is using to trigger sounds inside of the computer.
Wow. That's amazing. And how
Mhm.
did you get involved with, came up with the idea like with a call to peace and giving back to society? And how did music make push you forward to start this?
It kind of goes all together with my personal evolution with practicing this thing called knowledge, and looking for that peace inside, and finding it, and the which is the best part, when you find it. And even if I feel that feeling for 5 seconds, it's like it makes my day.
That's wonderful.
So it's between that and music. um, I was watching a man talking about this particular thing, which is what inspired me. And he was saying uh, that thing, peace is the responsibility of the individual, and that really resonated with me. And then right after that, he said, "What can you do?" So basically, he told me what he made me understand is that if I want to do something, I'll do it. It's my responsibility. I take the initiative, and he gave me the vision to put all the things that I knew about and dream about in my own hands.
Yeah.
So that's how that started. And then we associated with a church in Santa Monica, and for a while, even though we don't promote any kind of religion or politics, I think there is enough of that. We don't need to do more.
Mhm.
So and we did a series of concerts benefiting places that would take care of kids in the sense of paying tuition when they were the people knew that they were of great capabilities and talent, but they didn't have any money to pay for the studies, you know. So that was one of them. There was another organization called uh, Ar- Armory of Harmony.
What?
And
What? I'm
Armory,
sorry.
Armory,
Armory of Harmony.
yes, which was created with the purpose of getting back the commission guns that they're brought back to the police or captured by the police, then melt the metal, and with that melted metal, you make parts of instruments, musical instruments that then are donated to schools, high schools, or places that they cannot afford, you know, things like that. Anyway, there were many. In the website, I just don't remember all of it.
Yeah.
And then that was a whole chapter before the pandemic. When the pandemic came in, we couldn't perform.
That's too bad. Yeah.
But nevertheless, Sonia Kasarova, who's the singer and part of the foundation as well, she came up with the idea of doing the food recovery program. And with the food recovery program, what we started was we gathered a vast group of voluntaries, drivers, you know, with either any kind of card. So we would all go. I was part of it too. We would all go to the markets like Whole Foods or, you know, Trader Joe's, Bristol Farms, Sprouts, and then we would get all the food that they were about to throw away, but it still
Oh, wow.
had like a few days life, right? So we would take that to distribution hubs that were totally improvised during the pandemic. It could be a corner, it could be a garage, you know, things as an art studio, and then people would come and to get food for free, you know, because
Wow.
it was a time that not everybody could afford rent and food at the same time.
This was during the pandemic.
Yes,
And so
for two
you
years.
guys basically started that program where you're taking the food that was left over from the
Well, it was
supermarket.
I think it was a little bigger than that. It was not just leftover, but you know, the products on the supermarket, they have a shelf life. It says
Okay.
like, you know, consumed by this date. So a week before that date, they would take them off the shelf,
Okay.
right? And in that period of time, we would get it, and it was still good.
It was still good so that
Yeah.
the population could consume it before the date was up.
Yes. So with that, in the amount in 2 years, 20 22 months, no, I think it was, or 21 months, I don't remember. But during that time, we got to distribute 4 million pounds of food,
Wow.
you know, so which also is getting 4 million pounds of food out of the fields, you know, and they don't like create methane, gas methane
Sure.
when the food rottens and stuff, you know, when
It was a
decomposes.
plus all around for the
Yeah,
city.
it was. Yeah, all of a sudden there were other elements participating, which were surprising and very rewarding.
That's wonderful. That's such a great story. And you said another company kind of took it over and
Yeah, well, you know,
become
there
something.
was another company that came in and they started to get grants, and they were starting to push our drivers out of the way, and at that time, to me, you know, the pandemic was over. I didn't really care for that anymore,
I see.
and I didn't want to get into a dispute of any kind. I don't have time for it. You
Oh,
know.
I see. You're a
But,
peaceful man. You're all
well,
about
I think there I have my priorities,
right.
and getting in a discussion with people that don't listen, and you know,
It's
I
not your
try,
job. Yeah.
I try, and if I don't get any feedback, it's like, okay.
If we had a great conversation when we talked about peace, like what attracted you worldwide peace? Because I know you have a very interesting heritage. You were born
Mm.
in Uruguay, but you have a unique mix. And so you have a love for humanity that
Yes.
pushed
Yeah.
you towards this
Well,
lifestyle.
yeah. I think human beings are amazing. You know, when personally, when I communicate with people on one, I think they're just, beautiful, and there is so much to be shared and learn from each other. But when groups start happening, that beauty, that divinity is gone, and the reason starts to take over, and we forget about the hearts, and we lose meaning. It becomes more a concept than a reality.
I like how you said that. Yeah, this is why I started the show, because whenever I'm at an event or whenever I'm out, I always meet interesting people like yourselves, and we start these amazing conversations that I feel need to be shared.
Yeah.
And this is why I have these one-on-one interviews, because I see the beauty, like yourself, I see the beauty in every individual.
Huh.
And I studied a little psychology, so I know the group behavior is basically the most dominant person in the group kind of wins over everybody and directs the group. It
The
becomes
loud,
about the
yeah,
group
the loud mouth.
mentality versus the individual.
A
You know,
friend of mine used to call that the Baja syndrome.
the what?
Baja, like a sheep.
Like a sheep.
Bah,
Yeah, a lot of it's unfortunate. They've done so many studies.
Yeah.
In New York back in the 80s, there's a lot of crime, and then they noticed that when someone was being robbed or someone was being assaulted somehow, there was the group mentality. People,
Yeah.
if no one went forward, no one went forward, no one else. But if
Right.
one person tried to help, everybody else tried to help. Isn't that weird? Like, there was instances, they did studies where they were pretending to be beating up a homeless person. Nobody came up to save the homeless person and to say stop. And then they
Yeah.
put an actor there, and the actor was to go and stop it.
Right.
And when he stopped it, everybody else was like, let's call 911. But it was really sad,
I know.
the group mentality. But yeah, we're getting off topic. But that's
No, I mean,
how
I know
groups-
from experience. I'm not a fan of it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's required for survival on emergencies. Like I felt a more open sense of community when 9/11 happened. It's like the world stopped, and it was like I really wanted to communicate with people and express my sadness and understand the sadness of the others. And like when you organize a thing to just feed people, that's another
Yeah.
story. Yeah. And then you create different relationships in that sense. You communicate in a nice, beautiful way.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And music, I mean, what would be the musician without the audience?
Right.
It would be a big secret.
Right. When they say that if a tree falls in a forest,
And
if
nobody's
there's
there.
someone there, nobody's
Yeah.
there to hear. It's the same. Like if you play your amazing music and you don't have the audience, it's like as if you're not playing at all.
That it has to start by myself. I had to confess that when I compose music and when I play music, it's for me to feel something. So I'm the first audience, right?
You have
And
to feel it
then,
emotionally
yeah.
first.
So if I'm feeling that, then I'm comfortable of like sharing with everybody else, and then when people get that and get an stimulus from it in any which way, it comes back, and everything multiplies in both sides of the theater.
Yeah. Musical resonance, vibration, everything vibration,
Yeah.
So it starts with music, before there was anything, there was sound.
Yeah, it's
There was
exciting.
the word.
Yeah, exactly. Well, according to Indian classical music, the most important element of music is silence.
Yes. It's the note between all the other
The,
musical
the,
notes,
the space between the
the
notes.
space between the notes.
Yeah, it's like, because without that, it will be pretty chaotic. It's like if you start making a painting on top of a painting on top of the painting that you have behind you, instead of starting with an empty canvas.
Hmm.
you know.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it's the notes. When I heard that, I used to play piano when I was younger. So that was something I learned in that class, that
Uh-huh.
it's the, the countdown,
Right.
sometimes you put it, play a note and you have to count to 3 or 4. Like there's different octaves and
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to have a lot of fun teaching young generations, you know. When I lived in the first time I lived in Malibu for a while, I was doing giving private lessons, and I realized that there's an incredible amount of talent, and that the younger generations are really paying attention, because they wouldn't they would the majority of them would listen to, you know, music from the 60s and 70s and some 80s, you know, and they were like 9, 10 years old.
Really?
They,
That's so
they,
cute.
yeah, they would talk to me about Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, you know, and the Beatles. The Beatles were a common denominator for all of them.
Yeah. That's so funny because I listen to those types of music myself.
Yeah.
When my daughter was really young, when she was 3 or 4, I believe we were out and she was in the sandbox and playing, and she was wearing a T-shirt, the Beatles T-shirt.
Ah.
And an adult person asked her, "What do you know about the Beatles?" And she said a song, and she started singing one of the songs. And the guy was, the person, I don't remember who it was. They were dumbfounded, and they asked me, "How does your daughter know about the Beatles?" And then she was interrupting, and she said, "But Elvis is my favorite." And then they were like, their eyes were so wide open that that she knew the Beatles, that she knew Elvis, and she's only like 4 or 5 years old. And
It's surprising, but they're paying attention.
they pay a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, wouldn't
she
you like
memorized
that?
every single song. Whenever you played it, she knew it by heart.
Were you like that when you were that age?
I believe, I don't know. I loved music. I don't know if I was like that. I loved words. I was more of a poet. Poetry stuck with me. I memorized
Great.
poetry. Like in my culture, it's normal, or it's part of the culture to, memorize poetry and recite. When you're having conversation with adults, you would recite poetry.
Yeah.
And it was taught in school. And then as an adult, when I became a writer, the first thing I wrote was poetry. The first format of writing as a young person. Actually, the first poem I wrote, I was 8 or 9. Poetry came naturally to me. So I was more like, maybe we were the same somehow. I don't know.
I was kind of quiet, except when the drums were playing.
Yeah. I love the drums. Yeah, I'm from the south of Iran, so there's a lot of drums. Nice. And there's African music. African drums are actually involved in Southern Persian music, believe it or not. It's not.
Oh, it's all connected.
It is. Back in, I guess, the time of Cyrus, and the Silk Road, people from all over the world would get together, and with the ships or with the camels or whatever horses that they came, and the elites would be in the castle, but the servants and the drivers and all those soldiers, they would sit around the campfire, and they created this genre of music. And Bandar Abbas, it's a city in Iran. Bandar means the port. It's a port city where there's a lot of goods come through from China and the rest of the world through the Gulf. It's on the Gulf, and it's a mixture of Irish bagpipes, African drums, and I think those are the 2 main instruments. And
that's a combination.
It's really fun. It is really loud. It's really wild. And the dance is like African dancing, almost like 80%. It's like 20% Persian dancing, 80% as African. It's my favorite music there is. It gives me those emotions, like you said.
Yeah, there was a group in England. I don't know where they were from, but it was called Afro Celt. And they were part of Peter Gabriel's record label, Real World. And they had an incredible, beautiful mix of instruments and grooves and things like that. Yeah, it's very pretty. Yeah. I didn't know that about that part of Iran.
Yeah, that's the sad part. When after the hostage crisis, I feel the country has been closed to so many people, but it's kind of like the rest of the world. Like Mexico, I felt like it was a little like Iran, like every section had their own music, their own costume, their own culture, and their own subculture. Italy is the same. When I went to Italy, I like every city, every corner, every state has their own subculture. And Iran is very similar like that. They, the South versus the middle, the East, the West, the North. They all have their own type of music, their own type of language. There's over 85, I believe, when I was a kid, if I remember correctly, languages in Iran.
85.
Yeah.
Wow.
Over 80 languages, because a lot of it is dialect.
God, it would be like when you had to say hello, it would be exhausting.
Yeah. There's actually I love history. I'm a history buff. So there's a new, not new. This is new information. There is a subculture or called Gilaki. Gilaki sounds like Gaelic, right? Guess what? We found out they speak Gaelic.
Oh wow!
So it was from Ireland, thousands or hundreds of years ago. They traveled to a part of Iran and they created their own culture. They speak Farsi and they speak Gaelic as well. So,
well,
the world is full of surprises.
Yeah, but that explains the bagpipes too, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of Iranians that migrated to Uruguay, and when they went back to Iran, they brought with them the yerba mate. So a lot of people in Iran drink mate every day, like we do in Uruguay.
Yerba mate is that a thing in Uruguay?
Yeah. Everybody drinks it all the time.
Okay, it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's very good. So let's talk about peace and how you were so drawn to it, and what is your vision of the future when it comes to peace?
And the future will depend on the initiative of each one, right? If you want to, if I want to have peace in my life, and you want to have peace in your life, and without telling each other how you should do it, but actually achieving that feeling, then there is hope. So it's like if everybody takes the initiative, or at least a little bit of interest, then there are people that are there to guide you through the process. And basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, peace is a feeling with which we are born. We are born.
Yes, it's innate.
Yes, and I identify that period of time between when a person takes its first breath and the time that is given a name and then starts to kind of react to the name, the sound of a name. In that period of time, I think that's the purest form of identity of a person. And that's, if we would have the memory to remember those moments, we would easily identify peace between the feelings we had, because it was just there. It was reigning supreme.
It was part of us, our inner being.
Yeah.
So how do we bring that back? How do we bring that inner peace back?
Well, I wouldn't tell you how to do it, but I know that I found basically the concept is you have to find something or somebody that acts as a mirror, so you can look inside and see what it is. Oh, there it is. And and then the same individual would show you a way. In my case, is 4 techniques of meditation that are first, second, third, and fourth. Very simple. That basically they reverse the power of observation of the senses. It's like the eyes are always looking out, the ears are listening from outside, the tastes, it's like the feeling, the touch. It's reversing that power and, focusing the lenses of the vision inside, turning around the microphones of the ears and listening to what's there, tasting and feeling what's inside of each individual. That's my personal experience. I don't know. Some people might find it in different ways. And
we talked about your type of meditation. Can you tell us a little bit more? It's very interesting.
Is that what I was saying?
What is it called?
No, it's self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge.
Yeah, self-knowledge. And there are certain programs available for people that are called peace education programs.
Education.
Yeah, peace education programs they are implemented in many prisons around the world.
Wow.
And the people that enter those programs, when they go out of jail, they don't come back. I think it's called recidivism or something like
so
that.
then they become so peaceful, so when they're released they never go back to jail.
The common expression is like, if I knew this, I would never ended up being here.
Right.
Yeah. And
that's wonderful that they get a second chance.
Yeah.
Just with a simple meditation.
Right. I mean, and even if they cannot get out, but if they're in there in those small places and all those bars and all the conditions that people are exposed to in a place like that, they still find peace in there. Yeah. for themselves. So it's
talking about silence in music. I just picked something up from what you were saying.
Yeah,
meditation is being silent with yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's tricky. In the deepest days that I go inside, and I find that silence, then something else starts to sound. There is another sound. and it's not that silence anymore, but it feels amazing. It feels very peaceful. So that's
what do you mean? Sound? The sound of life, the sound of God, or
I don't know.
Spirit.
It's an experience. I mean, it's like, if I close my eyes, but I still see some form of light from the inside, or if I just go in silence and I start listening what's inside, or if I just focus on my breath and I, feel my whole body, and if I do another technique that would allow me to reverse the power of tasting, then I start tasting how that thing tastes like, and it's really beautiful. It's hard to describe. It's like describing a fruit that nobody had eaten before.
Yeah.
So it's like, you tell
me. The light within.
Yeah.
When you go in, you see the light within. I love that. That's so beautiful.
I mean, I couldn't tell you how that feels or tastes or doesn't taste. I mean, it's like, that's something that you had to find out for yourself. And it's better that way, believe me.
Yeah, definitely. It's experiential. You have to experience it yourself.
Right.
And one of the things I noticed about meditation, to have a deep meditation, there's no shortcuts.
No.
You have to show up every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went through a period. I've been meditating for a long time. And I went through last year a period where I was so busy with different types of work and business that I didn't meditate. And my nature is so calm and I was hectic in Los Angeles, running, going after this and that it really wreaked havoc on my health. It made me very unhealthy when I wasn't taking the time to meditate.
Right.
So for me, it's become a necessity.
Right. Yeah.
I have to meditate. There's no other way.
Yeah, but me too. But I have to do it because I like it. Not as a discipline, It's not like, if I don't do this, I'm going to hell. No, it's not like that to me.
No.
It's like, I just do it because I like it.
I like it too. It makes me feel grounded.
Right.
And it makes me make better decisions. If I'm not grounded, then I'm, part of the hustle bustle, then I'm going to be, making the wrong decisions. And
you see, a peace, another angle to look at peace is like a foundation. And from there, when you have peace in your life, then somehow you have clarity. You can see better or more or deeper. And when you have that clarity, you start to understand and realize that there are options. And that brings such a relief that joy is generated from it.
Wow.
And then when joy is there, the next feeling, which for me is the ultimate, is gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could change your life with gratitude. I feel like if anyone's listening and they're going through a hard time and they don't know where to begin. And let's say you don't like your job, you don't like your husband or wife, or you don't like, where you're living, you're like 90% of the things that are going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If they go in the feeling of gratitude, their entire life will change. If they do just gratitude for 10 minutes every morning for 7 days, your life will change. And then that's when you start seeing, synchronicities will come. I love Joe Dispenza. I listen to him, and he does a lot of experiments. He's done experiments with gratitude, and he's the one who came up with this. It's actually scientifically proven.
Mm-hmm.
In a laboratory, he was able to prove that when people go into a peaceful situation or peaceful meditation or just gratitude, their entire lives will change. The universe will basically start moving you towards your higher self.
It's so exhilarating because at the same time you cannot take that for granted.
We do, because it's so simple. All I have to do is think about gratitude. Okay.
Yeah.
And so many people don't believe it. A lot of the scientific people, I want to share something that happened today. I have a friend who's a doctor, and he's experiencing some health issues. And I was online, I came across, MS is, a health issue that he's experiencing.
Yeah.
And I saw this really very profound message. I sent to him, and he made fun of it. He made a joke of it. Basically, it was this doctor. He was an actual doctor. He said he was a medical doctor who suggested if you want to avoid MS in the future, and he was saying how different types of migraines, like if it's forehead, you can't sleep well, and it's the back of the head, it could cause MS in the future. And he said, in the morning when you wake up, right as you are washing your hands, go like this behind your neck, just softly massage the back of your neck. And he said, if you do this every morning, I mean, how peaceful is this, right? It's nice, right?
It feels
you can
great.
avoid getting MS. Just do this for a couple minutes. I mean, I like it. It feels good. And I sent it to him, and he made a joke of it. Ha ha, who's this idiot? And I'm like, okay, never mind. Some people aren't open.
I know. Some people are afraid of being happy, and there's plenty of those. Yeah.
True.
And
they think
this
if they
great.
have MS, it's for life, because he studied science and he's a doctor, and he, they want to follow this solid, straightforward, just one way or the highway type of mentality. But the thing is, even science, when you study science, it's a theory. You're studying a theory, someone's idea.
Yeah.
That's what a theory is. It means if I came up with a theory today, 10 years from now, you came up with a theory that was better than mine, my theory will be obsolete. So still, but they're still like looking at it as this one theory, highway, one way or the highway. But knowing the fact that science is never uniform and it's not ever straightforward. Look at, we could go back to the 60s and look at our science books.
Yes.
And then look today. What's the difference? A huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I always go back to how much do I know myself, I mean, because otherwise everything could become like a Olympics of the minds, Yeah. It's like, so I cannot forget that part, the heart, the real identity. I can't forget.
You forget your identity.
Yeah, basically, you become another sheep in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I kind of resonate, like the opposite of that would be what Joe Dispenza talks about. When you meditate and you become no one, nowhere. And I feel like that's the piece that you're talking about. When you are not resonating with your identity, like this is my sweater, this is my painting, you're not identifying with these things being mine, the ego. And when you don't associate with anything, but you stay awakened and aware of your surroundings.
Conscious, aware, yeah, that's very important. And I also heard once that paying attention is the path to devotion. Is the pathway to devotion. Paying attention, you know, devotion being a kind of love that is not attached to anything. You know, is yeah. There is a word for that in English. I don't remember it right now.
Yeah, sounds like ecstasy.
No. It's
No, but devotion.
Devotion. Yeah, devotion is unconditional love. That's what that is.
Unconditional love. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, unconditional love. I mean, because unconditional love, you could focus that on somebody or just on life itself, and it just it's not attached to anything. It's just you have that love, you feel that love because you're alive, and if you recognize that life coming through your breath in and out, and the potential that is there just from that gift of breathing is enormous, and not I don't know a lot of people that think that they're breathing. They don't realize it.
Yeah, we forget we're breathing. Sometimes we stop our breathing when we're stressed. We actually
it
don't
changes.
breathe the same.
Yeah, it changes.
Flow.
I mean, we cannot stop because if we do, we die. But so, which is nice for me to know that even in my sleep.
Shallow breathing, I should have said. Yeah.
What is it?
Shallow breathing, I meant to say.
Oh, shallow. Yeah. You're right. But even when I sleep, I'm not conscious that I'm breathing, but something is breathing me. I look at it that way. I like that.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. There's so much to talk about. And how long is this program?
50 minutes, 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Yeah. We've been here for already 40 minutes.
Yes, 42 minutes. It goes back. I swear, it goes fast. Everybody that comes on the show.
I have a question. Really fast. Your voice is amazing. Do you do spoken word?
Sometimes I write poetry, so I do sometimes. Not often enough. Yeah.
We have at our concerts we invite poets and they do their thing and then we improvise music behind them. It's
I'd
cool.
love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. Oh yay! I got an invitation.
Do you have a poem with you right now?
I do. I'm working on a poetry book. I mean, this is impromptu, guys. This okay. I never knew.
Just a second. Just wait. I'm gonna get my guitar.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. By the way, I have a wonderful friend visiting from Malawi. He's really? a singer-songwriter, and he's on that side of the studio with the headphones on, working on the music. And
oh, lovely! I would love to listen to you guys sometime.
Right.
We're neighbors, and people don't know in the show that we actually live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see the studio.
Can you hear this?
Yeah.
All right. So you go for it.
Okay. This one is called New Beginnings. I'm here for you. I will never leave your side. One by one, they all went home. Why, you ask? Because they have bills to pay, children to look after, parents to take care of. My aunt is coming over for tea. I sent her away because I was looking after her. What did I learn? You expect yourself, solo journey, yet we are one. Unclothed in the winter's darkness, will my youthful corpo survive? Once in a while, we get lucky to share our journey with the one. Signed and dated, you are married now. What? For how long? Forever? Really? Why do I have to contract him into a deal? Will he not stay just for the journey? Fear? Fear to catch a glimpse of my true essence in the mirror terrifies me of the obedience of the average man. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I will stay in my lane and follow the madness, only to wake from a nightmare. An artist will sooner die than to fall into the blind path of the average man. To never question the meaning of life. A nightmare, unfathomed by the artist. Then, here I am. Win, lose, or draw, taking chances, being the black sheep, facing conflict, taking a more social discipline than may be handled by one person alone. The desire of an artist is a cancer that keeps coming back until you sum it up to validity. It only makes sense to you, the artist. So this is why I can't give up. Before you know it, it will be back. In the form of ongoing debt until you give in and let it linger with your soul. A genuine artist is an embodiment of her mission in the world of scarcity. The abundance of life can only be painted by the artist. The meaning of her life only through creating. Creation is life. Life is creation. There is duality. There is the duality you were looking for. An artist can undo and redo this jigsaw puzzle that can't be solved. Only she solved it in her heart, but her mind is stuck trying to get validation from a whole world of invalid. I give you the reader, the artist license, which means be you for humanity depends on it. And that's how unity takes place.
There you go.
It's funny that I noticed that a lot of the things you and I talked about was in my poem. The sheep was in there.
The black.
Huh?
The black sheep was there.
The black sheep was in there, but I kind of alluded to the sheep, the
I
African.
know. Yeah.
That follow. Yeah.
The fall of a cliff. The one.
Follow
yeah,
the cliff into, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a nice surprise. That was good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so we're almost coming to the end. So any last words for the audience before we close up?
Famous last words.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to each one of us. Obviously, we live in a time that we are seeing that political system, religions are not really doing the job they're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
So it's a matter of assuming responsibility for your own happiness, your own joy, on top of the responsibilities that we all have, but giving a little bit of priority and attention to your basic needs.
I agree so hard. Yeah. We are more responsible now than ever for our peace and joy.
I mean, life becomes so much enjoyable when you have peace in your heart. It's way more enjoyable. It's just it's more dimensional. It's fun. It's like when somebody asked me on the World Economic Forum was how do you see the future? What do you think the future looks like? What is your vision of it? And I said, to me, it's like, in kindergarten when the kids take a break and
Yeah.
they're playing and they're fighting, but nothing stays there. It's like if they fight, then the next second they're just playing with a different toy and having fun in a different way. There is no build up on the
There's no grudge. Yeah, they just move
exactly.
on.
So I said, well, to me, that I would like to hear that in the future, but with us, the grown-ups, with
Yeah,
everybody.
it would be
Not-
lovely. I like that. I actually have a few friends who are like that. They don't hold grudges. The situation ended. They're like, forget it. It's over. I love that. And I think if we acted that way, most of us, if we felt inclined to act in those ways, then we would
Yeah.
have less disease, less pain, because disease is basically emotions that weren't dealt with,
Yeah.
that saved, somewhere in the body.
The
body's-
word says it all. This is.
This is, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, that's something that I always like to share, and
Thank you.
I hope we all. I mean, I had a great time. To me, this ending was very surprising and beautiful.
Thank
So-
you. Yeah, that was a surprise. We didn't plan the poetry.
No,
so
not at all.
happy that, yeah, I'm finishing my poetry book. I'm finally going to publish it. So
Great.
thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know it's my show, but you gave me the opportunity to read it.
Well, it's your show. You have to do. Why not?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm
Yeah.
finishing 3 albums that are almost ready. It's just post-production right now. One of them is done, and then we're working on album cover and distribution and things like that. That's in collaboration with Scarlett Rivera, very well-known violin player that became to fame because she toured and recorded with Bob Dylan for a long time. There's a wonderful story on how they met. But I don't know if we have time for that.
We
But
probably don't, but yeah.
yeah.
But I
okay.
want to tell people to go to your website, www.seniormusic.com.
I think maybe the www.icalltopeace.org is more actual.
Okay.
The senior music needs to be updated to a different
Updated.
platform.
So
now-
everybody should go to acalltopeace.org. So
I
stay
can see
on.
it.
I'm going to bring you in the green room. I'm just going to say the goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode.
Yeah.
For my friends, please, who are viewers, please like and subscribe and share this with other musicians or peace lovers or people who love to meditate and give back to community. This was wonderful having you. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure we'll have more conversations behind the scenes. We always have fun, getting to know
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
And-
We should. I mean, we live so close by. It's kind of
yeah,
it's
definitely.
funny.
We'll have
So-
to get together soon.
So give my thanks to your friends that are also helping with this. And
Thank you so much. Yes,
we'll be in touch.
definitely. Stay on for a second, okay? Thank you
Yes.
so much. And this is the end of our show. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.